Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So on Tuesday, not a lot of people knew that there was going to be an election taking place statewide in the state of Oklahoma, and it was a referendum on marijuana legalization. And typically this is an issue where conservatives have lost quite a bit of ground on. Even polls that have been conducted among Republicans show like 40% of them supporting it from time to time. But still, in Oklahoma, you see this measure take place here, and the no vote won by 24 percentage points or so. It wasn't exactly a presidential margin per se in the state, but still, it was pretty close to that. And for this issue, that's a pretty good showing for the no vote regardless. And I know we're going to have some of the more libertarian-minded types that are going to come in here and say, well, why would you ever vote against this bill? It's a plant, whatever. And that's a little bit beside the point. We'll talk about that in this video. We'll get to some of those arguments. But either way, a ballot measure going in the conservative direction by a sizable amount due to the fact that conservatives in the state, Republicans, finally utilized absentees and early voting to their advantage, is a massive W that needs not to be overlooked. And it kind of does show what needs to be done moving forward in order to advance more conservative policy in this country, as well as getting the right people elected to offices during midterm years and during presidential years. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more. But first of all, I have to tell you guys about redeaglepatriot.com. My last video on the channel was about the CPAC straw poll for president. A lot of people asked about the CPAC straw poll for the vice presidential analysis. And, well, I did a whole 15-minute video on the website just about that alone. You guys can get all of my exclusive videos that are not on the main channel on my website at redeaglepolitics.com. It is just $5 a month or 16 cents per day. You also get access to the Discord server as well as the newsletter and or articles that have been written by me and my associates. It's well worth it. $5 a month, 16 cents a day, redeaglepolitics.com. So we're going to be diving into this. And no won in every single county. It actually outperformed Kevin Stitt and I believe a couple of the other statewide offices or Senate races that took place during the 2022 midterms in the state. And that is astounding there because this is an issue that typically has not benefited Republicans in recent years. Republicans have lost quite a bit of ground on this issue. And people are going to say, well, why do you oppose this? Because there are people, just like there are people who support gay marriage. I don't know which exactly has more support within the Republican Party or the conservative, quote-unquote, conservative discourse today. But there are legitimate reasons, and I'm somebody who actually used to support marijuana legalization up until a couple of years ago. I think a lot of people that have followed the channel since 2019 actually know that. But, you know, I look into the issue a little bit more, and I understand what it does. You look at what it does to IQ. You see a drop in IQ over time of about 8 percentage points in chronic users. I think that we need a society that is not going to be mentally weak if we want to take back this country. And it also makes people literally liberal. And we know that. Look at what it did to Colorado. I'm not going to say that the drug itself made people that were already conservatives voting more liberal. That's not my takeaway here, but it allowed for the state's culture to be changed. And we talk about the commercialization of that. You go to Arizona, you see weed billboards all over the place. You see them in Michigan now. It changes the culture. I'm not somebody that wants to put people in prison for 20, 30 years because of a plant. That's the talking point that the libertarians, that the liberals use against this. And it's like, that's not exactly my position. It's also really not happening. A lot of the people that are actually going to jail for weed are pleading down from other things, usually violent crimes, by the way, that have these long sentences that are due to marijuana or whatever. But either way, you look at every single county, including Oklahoma City, which has not been super conservative lately, voted no. And you look at the polls nationwide, Pew Research says 67% of people in 2019 believe that weed should be legal. Obviously, Oklahoma is more conservative. I'm not trying to say that it's not, but you're talking about a 35-point nationwide discrepancy in like an R plus 30 state or so. That should mean that this referendum would run about even, but it didn't. And you look at why it didn't, because conservatives actually took advantage of early voting, and this is true. And they didn't exactly have a total result here for early votes total. They did for the presidential election. And you look at the absentees there, and they actually voted for Trump by just 0.4% in a state that Donald Trump won by 33 percentage points. But still, you look at what happened when the early returns were coming in, and they had a decent amount in from OKC and Tulsa as well. It was pretty much 60-40 or so, or relatively close to that. I think as the more early returns came in from OKC and Tulsa later, maybe they would not have broken 60-40, but still, either way, conservatives utilized that to their advantage. They got as many votes out as they possibly could get early in favor of the no vote, and then they knew where to find the votes down the stretch more easily to get them out to vote for Election Day. And this is true. This is how we win in future elections. It's not just about this referendum. It's not just about weed or what side of the weed debate you're on. It's about what you need to do to win. And Oklahoma, in rejecting this, is going to make their state more culturally conservative. That's a very good thing. Very few people, if you look at it over time, supported making weed legal until, I don't know, sometime around the early 2010s when you see a spike there. And you could say it's generational or whatever, but no, this is an obvious, coordinated campaign, and it's done so by the left, and it's done so in order to make people, I would say, a little bit more mentally weaker. It's done in order to make these states that pass it more liberal and to attract more liberals and become even more of liberal cultural centers than they currently are. Just like the state of Colorado, they're doing it to Arizona as we speak. They are doing it to Michigan. Oklahoma did the right thing here as well. And how they did it too is impressive because the backers raised far more money for this campaign than the opponents. In Oklahoma, we see the Yes campaign raise a ridiculous amount, but you see what happens when you beat the left at their own game with the electoral system. Boom. You know what? It didn't matter. And the no vote won in the day by 24 points, only underperforming Donald Trump by around 9 points or so in the state. That's pretty impressive. And this is a cultural victory to a certain extent. And it shows that also if you word the question properly, you can win. People will talk about the abortion referendums that were put forward in places like Kansas or Kentucky in 2022. But in 2020, they had a very similar referendum that was worded better in a state like Louisiana that actually outperformed Donald Trump in the state of Louisiana. So in terms of these cultural issues, we have to basically change the narrative. We have to put forth our own narrative, frame things in the way that are palatable to the general population in order for us to win over a lot of these voters who really don't know what they're voting on, so we can actually change the culture, and that's what it is. So we swamped them in early voting. We swamped them on Election Day. We were swamped with a lot of money, a lot of outstate money that was poured into this, but it didn't matter at the end of the day. And the correct side won. It's pretty hilarious. Even Cleveland County, I believe that's a college town area. A lot of young people you would have expected to turn out for this, given the demography of the people that typically support weed legalization. Well, nope, it failed by 2 percentage points. So, yeah, interesting there. Not a single county on this map went blue, and it's just a massive L for the left in the state of Oklahoma. So there is an election coming up, and we know in the state of Wisconsin that's going to be taking place in April that will determine the outcome of the state Supreme Court, which has typically been a bulwark against a lot of Tony Evers' agenda. So if you're looking into statewide elections and you're looking at the blueprint in order to actually go out there and win them, well, Wisconsin, they could take a little bit of a look at what happened in Oklahoma and delve into a little autopsy report of what happened in the state of Wisconsin in the primary and really tend to understand what they need to do to win there, because that's the next domino to fall. That's the next statewide election. We got to go out there and get Daniel Kelly the victory there. But Oklahoma, very interesting what happened there, something that you really wouldn't expect. But as a result, what do we see here? When you play the system to win, Even money doesn't really matter so long as you have the correct mechanics. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.